You won't believe what happened next. At 80 years old, Tom Selleck finally sat down and told the unfiltered truth about the man who shaped his career and the person he's tried to be ever since, James Garner. It's a story that starts in post-war America, takes a detour through a basketball court, brushes against the role of Indiana Jones, parks beside a red Ferrari 308, and ends on a quiet California ranch where a Hollywood legend traded studio lights for avocado trees. And yeah, there's a lesson in here for anyone trying to stay grounded when life goes big. Now picture this. Tom Selleck wasn't born with a script in hand or a mustache made for TV posters. He arrived on January 29, 1945, in Detroit, Michigan, into a working-class family that later packed up for Southern California, landing in Sherman Oaks. If you'd met teenage Tom Selleck, you might have pegged him for a gym rat. Not a leading man, he was tall, athletic, and in love with hoops. Basketball wasn't just a hobby, it was the plan. He earned a spot with the USC Trojans on scholarship, studied business administration, and figured life would involve box scores, not call sheets. Then fate did what fate does. A drama coach at USC told Tom Selleck to give acting a shot. Just try it. Why not? He dipped a toe in, some acting classes, some auditions, and then commercials came calling. Those early spots, including those fizzy Pepsi ads in the 60s, weren't glamorous, but they proved something important. The camera liked him. He had that mix of warmth and presence that makes strangers want to hear you talk for an hour. He wasn't planning to be an actor, but acting seemed to be planning around him. Those first years were hustle and humility. Tom Selleck popped up on game shows like The Dating Game, did walk-ons and guest bits on series through the late 60s and 70s, and learned the grind. Hit your mark, know your line, respect everyone from the top of the call sheet to the boom operator. He snagged small roles on the Rockford Files, and that's where the universe nudged him toward a lesson he'd carry forever, because that's where James Garner entered the frame, not as a far-off TV hero, but as a real person. Let's talk about James Garner. Before Tom Selleck ever shook his hand, he admired him from the couch like everyone else. James Garner had this effortless thing. He made confidence look kind, danger look charming, and comedy feel like a wink between friends. On Maverick and later on the Rockford Files, he wasn't pretending to be authentic. He was authentic. So when Tom Selleck found himself on set with James Garner, he was nervous. Would the guy be distant, maybe moody, not even close? James Garner was funny, warm, and allergic to nonsense. He respected everybody. He was a pro. Those days on the Rockford Files were more than a resume line for Tom Selleck. They were a masterclass. James Garner showed him how to be a star without making other people feel small. He taught him the quiet rules. Let your work do the talking. Don't burn time on ego. Say thank you. Know the crew's names. Keep your integrity when the pressure cranks up. It wasn't flashy mentorship, and maybe that's why it stuck. Sometimes the best advice is the kind that never announces itself as advice. Meanwhile, bigger doors were creaking open. Here's one you might know. Tom Selleck almost played Indiana Jones. No joke. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg saw what he could do, and for a moment, the fedora and whip hovered within reach. But timing is a ruthless director. Tom Selleck had a television commitment that wouldn't let go, and the role went to Harrison Ford, who crushed it, obviously. In another universe, there's a poster with Tom Selleck sprinting from a boulder. In this one, it became a sliding door moment, the kind that closes one lane while clearing another. That other lane would change everything. In 1980, Tom Selleck stepped into the sun as Thomas Magnum on Magnum P.I, the tiger's cap, the Hawaiian shirts, that red Ferrari, the mustache that launched 1,000 Halloween costumes. Overnight, America had a new definition of cool, brave but funny, tough but human, a guy who could crack a case and crack a joke in the same breath. The show ran 8 seasons, and it was more than ratings. Tom Selleck earned an Emmy and a Golden Globe, but the bigger win was the audience's affection. People didn't just watch Magnum, they rooted for him. They felt like he'd accept a beer if they ran into him at a barbecue. And here's a beautiful twist. The fame didn't blow Tom Selleck off course. Maybe it's because he'd already seen the right way to handle it. He'd watched James Garner balance charm with humility, spotlight with sanity. That compass would guide Tom Selleck as he moved into films. In 1987, he surprised everyone with 3 Men and a Baby, a comedy that became a mega hit and reminded people that rugged doesn't mean serious. Then he saddled up for westerns, including Quigley Down Under in 1990, a movie that let him lean into that timeless, old-school American archetype, the man with a code, a rifle, and a dry sense of humor. As the years rolled, Tom Selleck didn't chase youth. He leaned into time. In 2010, he took on NYPD patriarch Frank Reagan on Blue Bloods, playing a police commissioner with gravitas, conscience, and a dad's patience for Sunday dinner debates. The role fit him like a well-worn leather jacket. The show became a comfort watch for millions, and Tom Selleck showed a whole new generation why he's lasted. He can say more with a pause than some people say with a speech. But let's step off the set for a moment, because the real story of Tom Selleck isn't just what he did on camera. It's the choices he made when the cameras weren't rolling. In 1971, he married Jacqueline Ray, a striking model whose world was runways and flash bulbs. Their marriage lasted over a decade, and during that time, Tom Selleck made a decision that tells you everything about him. He adopted her young son, Kevin Shepard, later known as Kevin Selleck. That wasn't a publicity move. It was a promise. Kevin would grow up, find drums, and land in the rock band Tonic in the 90s, carving out his own path. That adoption wasn't just paperwork. It was Tom Selleck putting his heart where his words were. The first marriage ended in 1982, as Hollywood marriages often do, but life had another twist waiting, this time in London. Tom Selleck went to see Cats, the musical, not the animal, and there she was, Jillie Joan Mack, a British actress and dancer whose energy was like a spotlight you couldn't turn off. They kept things low-key and real. On August 7, 1987, Tom Selleck and Jillie Joan Mack got married, and the bond stuck. A year later, they welcomed Hannah Margaret Selleck on December 16, 1988. Hannah didn't chase Hollywood, she went a different way. Horses. She grew into a world-class equestrian, the kind of competitor who respects the craft and the animal. If you've ever watched Hannah ride, you can see both her parents in her, discipline, poise, and a quiet fire. And then there's the ranch. If Magnum P.I. was the billboard, the ranch is the diary. Tom Selleck and Jillie Joan Mack chose a 60-plus acre avocado spread in Hidden Valley near Thousand Oaks in Southern California, a place with history. It once belonged to Dean Martin. The property isn't just pretty, it's purposeful. Dirt roads, wind through the trees, mornings that smell like the earth just woke up. Tom Selleck fell in love with the work, clearing brush, fixing roads, putting your back into it, washing the day off with a hose and a grin. In an interview years back, he admitted he'd rather sweat outside than stare at a wall on a stationary bike, and it wasn't a line. It was a lifestyle. He even joked he worked cheaper than anyone he could hire. That's the man in a nutshell. Big star, small ego, happy to get mud on his boots. All of which brings us back to James Garner, because when Tom Selleck talks about this part of his life, you can hear Garner's echo. See, James Garner wasn't just a TV legend. Married to Lois Clark for decades, he was a model of how to do fame without letting fame do you. He knew the industry was a wave. Ride it. Don't let it drown you. And when Tom Selleck stepped back from the relentless hustle to be present for Jillie and Hannah, to choose family dinners over extra spin-off deals, that choice lives under the same roof as James Garner's example. Let's pause and ask a question. How many people get bigger as they get more famous? Bigger hearts, bigger patience, bigger sense of responsibility? Not many. But the people who do always have someone they learned it from. For Tom Selleck, that someone was James Garner. Back on those Rockford Files sets, Garner gave him the playbook for a long career. Embrace the crew. Don't inflate the small stuff. Let other people shine. If you see a young actor looking uncertain, give them a hand without making it a moment. When you've been around, share what you know without turning it into a lecture. And when fame starts whispering that you're special, go sweep a floor. The floor will tell you the truth. Tom Selleck talks about the way James Garner could peel tension off a room with a joke or a one-liner, how he never looked down on anyone, how he could be both mischievous and gentlemanly in the same moment. He remembers Garner offering perspective when the pressure spiked, about health, about lawsuits, about studio politics, about the toll the spotlight can take if you mistake it for sunlight. He remembers the warning signs, the traps of ego, the temptation to cash in your integrity. And he remembers the encouragement. Take the job you can respect tomorrow morning. If you can't look your kid in the eye and be proud of it, don't do it. Simple rules, hard rules, the kind that hold up when the applause stops. Even the almost Indiana Jones detour gets kinder in this light. It didn't become a regret for Tom Selleck. It became a nudge toward the thing he was meant to define. Magnum P.I. gave him space to be playful and principled at once. It gave him the kind of fame that isn't just noise, it's recognition. You're that guy who'd help me change a tire in the rain. And later, Blue Bloods turned that trust into authority. Frank Reagan isn't flashy. He's steady, the quiet center of a loud city. That's the same quality Tom Selleck admired in James Garner, steadiness with a grin. Of course, none of this would matter if the home life didn't back it up. Tom Selleck and Jillie Joan Mack built a marriage on ordinary days, no fireworks needed, just coffee, chores, horse shows, muddy boots at the door. Hannah Margaret Selleck made her own life in arenas across the globe, and her parents were there in the stands, not as celebrities, but as family. And when work called, Tom Selleck found a way to answer without hanging up on the people he loved. That's rare in their world. That's legacy. Now, when Tom Selleck says at 80 that he's finally ready to speak openly about James Garner, he's not dishing gossip or polishing a myth. He's telling you who he copied. He's admitting that the man he watched as a kid, James Garner on Maverick, the cool customer who never had to raise his voice, turned into the man he tried to emulate in real life. Not just as an actor, but as a friend, a husband, a dad. He's saying, you want to know how I lasted? Look at James Garner. It's heartfelt. It's grateful, and it's honest. He credits Garner with showing him that you can be adored on screen and decent off it. That you can be famous without treating people like furniture. That you can say no when the price tag is your character. When Tom Selleck stepped back from the machine to be more present for Jillie and Hannah on that ranch, that wasn't retreat. It was victory. The kind of victory James Garner would have nodded at and said, good. Keep your feet on the ground, kid. Let's zoom out for a second. The Hollywood story we usually get is all assent, red carpets, bigger checks, flashier cars. But the story that lasts is the one where someone figures out how to be a whole person. Tom Selleck made that shift. The ranch wasn't an escape. It was a choice to stay human. Fixing roads by hand, clearing brush, managing an avocado crop with the patience of a farmer and the strategic mind of someone who knows how to run a set. You can almost see him there at dusk checking fences, the day's work on his shirt, a contented look that says, this is the good stuff. If you're thinking, okay, but what's the truth he finally told? It's not scandal. It's gratitude. It's the acknowledgement that James Garner was the North Star he steered by. Not a perfect man, who is, but a steady one. The kind who stayed married to Lois Clark through the storms, who fought for fair treatment in a tough business, who treated Stage 3 like a neighborhood and not a kingdom. Tom Selleck says that when he got overwhelmed, when success felt like a wave compared to the shore of his own values, Garner could bring him back with a story, a laugh, or just that look that said, you already know what the right thing is. There's a moment Tom Selleck shares that sticks. The idea that part of his legacy is inseparable from James Garner's. He knows that when people talk about who he became, actor, producer, family man, they're also hearing the echo of Garner's example. He's fine with that. More than fine. He's proud of it, because that's what good mentors do. They shape you so deeply that your best parts are a quiet tribute to them. So where does that leave us? With a picture of Tom Selleck that's bigger than a character and deeper than a catchphrase. He's the athlete who learned to perform, the star who learned to listen, the leading man who learned to lead by how he treated people when the director yelled, cut. He's the guy who almost was Indiana Jones, then became something just as enduring, a symbol of decent masculinity you can actually use in real life. Make the joke, do the job, go home to your family, fix the fence. And with James Garner, the truth, according to Tom Selleck, is simple. The man set the bar and set it high. Be generous, be funny, be fair. Be the person who says hello first. Be the professional who knows when to fight and when to shrug. Be the husband who shows up. Be the friend who tells the truth. As Tom Selleck looks back from 80, he isn't trying to rewrite history. He's trying to underline it. He's still working, still embodying Frank Reagan with that mix of steel and grace, still checking on the trees back home, still proud of Hannah's rides, still grateful to Jillie for building a life with him that feels real. And when someone asks him where he learned to carry it all with a light touch, he smiles and points to James Garner. Now tell me this isn't a story worth remembering the next time success knocks. When you get your shot, on a stage, in an office, at a family table, maybe think like James Garner and move like Tom Selleck. Keep your humor, keep your humility, keep your heart. That's how you last. If this journey hit home, even a little, drop a comment with your favorite moment from Tom Selleck's career or a James Garner scene that still makes you grin. And hey, if you want more deep dive stories told with a little heart and a little grit, you know what to do. Tap like, hit subscribe, and share this with the friend who needs a reminder that success doesn't mean losing yourself. See you in the next one.